Dear Void, this video is more of a me thinking out loud kind of thing. You know how people on the internet are always like, I know everything and this is the absolute truth, right? Well, sorry, I guess I'm not perfect enough to be on the internet, because I don't know everything, and this is just me wondering about things, and I wanted to share those musings with the Void. Because I've been uneasy ever since I heard of Turkey's involvement in the Hamas surrender agreement and what would happen the day after the war in Gaza. Some reports say that Turkey would be part of the international force that sends troops into Gaza, supposedly to administer it until the Palestinian Authority can get in. Now, I don't trust Erdogan. Ideologically, he's an extremist, he's a terrorist, bloodthirsty, anti-Semitic, and just basically a serious douchebag all around. And I wanted to use a stronger word here, but YouTube starts crying if I use strong words too early in the video. So for now, douchebag is enough. The point is, I see it as very likely that Erdogan would have Turkish troops in Gaza only in order to create a provocation that would lead to some kind of an exchange of fire between Turkish soldiers and Israeli soldiers, and that would give him the excuse to start something a lot bigger and drag the entire Middle East and the world with it into another, even larger round of violence. Which would also work with the reports that he's buying F-35s from the US as well as other weapons that disturb the balance of power in the region and might threaten Israel's military superiority in the region. And why? Because Erdogan has fantasies about the return of the Ottoman Empire, with him, of course, as the supreme leader. And yes, he wants an empire, he wants it in the Middle East, he wants it ruling over Arab countries like he did in the past. But he realizes that would not go down so easily with the Arab nations, who, by the way, are aware of what I'm saying. This is not something that I alone see. And they are weary of Turkey and have been trying to block Erdogan's advances of his influence into the region in the past. For example, they fought against his influence in Syria as much as they could until it became pointless and they kind of just accepted it. This was a shit show for the Arab world, by the way. Like, the choice was either Turkey's influence or Iran's influence. Neither are good for the Arabs. But anyway, the point is, the Arabs know what I'm talking about. And Erdogan would like to win their favor. And he would like to do that by becoming extremely popular amongst the people. That's the key to the Arab nations, the people. If you're popular with the people, the leaders might see your involvement as beneficial to maintaining their regimes stable. And what makes Arabs happy at the moment? A Muslim who stands up to the Jews, of course. It's basically the same trick of the Iranian regime. And for the Iranians, it's also about showing Shia dominance over Sunnis. But the point is that the Iranians don't really care about Israel. There's nothing that Israel has done to them. Israel is not a threat. It's not blocking them economically. In fact, before the revolution, we were very close allies. It's all about what it looks like to the Muslim world. If they could have defeated us where the Sunnis failed, it would have given them prestige and proven in their minds their superiority. But anyway, this is about Erdogan, not Iran. I do think that Erdogan is different from the Iranians. I think he's a little smarter, to be honest. And therefore, he would realize that dragging Israel into a direct conflict with Turkey is quite a gamble. And the gamble here is, I guess, that the US would prefer Turkey over Israel, because he can't hope that Turkey would become a power to match the US. And that gamble is also very unlikely considering the agreements and contracts that Israel and the US have, and that, half of the US defense systems are designed by Israelis. Or maybe the gamble is that Europe would stand with him and turn on the Americans, which is again not likely. And if he bets on the Arab world, well, let's put it this way, I give him more credit than that. The Arab world has a lot of good points, military might, not one of them. Especially not if the Americans get in the mix. Perhaps he hopes that Turkey being part of NATO and Israel not being part of NATO would force the Americans to choose NATO. But personally, I think that is probably a stupid bet too, because the benefits of the relations with Israel are such that the US would rather either kick Turkey out of NATO or leave it themselves, which, as the most significant contributor, would force the Europeans to go with them, which is effectively kicking Turkey out of NATO. So, while I am uneasy by the idea of Turkish troops at our borders, it might be a different thing altogether. At the start of the year, former Turkish Prime Minister made some remarkable statements. He suggested that since being Ottoman was the last real citizenship the people of Gaza ever had, Turkey should annex it as an autonomous territory, supposedly until the Palestinian Authority takes over. Now, first of all, I love that statement because he kind of spat in the face of the Palestinian scam, admitting that there was never a thing like that. It was never a country, it was never a kingdom, it was never a people, and that these were just Arabs living in the Ottoman Empire, in the region called by the Greek name Palestine. There were also Jews in Gaza, by the way, at the time, and they were also considered Jewish Palestinians. So there, a Muslim from a Muslim country admits it's all bullshit. But more to the point, this could be what Erdogan really wants: to kickstart the new Ottoman Empire by making the Gaza Strip the first territory officially under Turkish control that is outside of Turkey, the first Turkey colony. They'll call it something like the Palestinian Republic of Turkish Gaza, or something like that. Not that it will be a republic, mind you. Erdogan has no interest in Gaza becoming a democracy any more than he wants Turkey to become a democracy. But it does have a nice ring to it. And of course, they will say it's temporary, and they'll say it's to protect Gaza from Israel, since attacking Gaza would be seen as attacking Turkey. But through sheer magic, the Palestinian Authority would just never become ready to take over, and the area will just become recognized as part of Turkey and the people in it as Turks. You know, Cyprus style. And that might not be such a bad thing, by the way, because I don't believe the Turks would want a colony of theirs to be a shithole terrorist state like Hamas did. I think they would want to prove to the Arab world that when you let them in, they bring security and prosperity. I think they'll do everything the Palestinians could have done and should have done 20 years ago when Israel disengaged from Gaza. They will build ports and hotels and entertainment and industry. They'll make Gaza shinier and bigger than ever, a coastal area to make everyone jealous. That would be a terrific win for Turkey. And it would make the Gazans loyal to Turkey, and quite frankly less likely to want to rock the boat with silly suicidal attacks on Israel. It might even end up bringing Turkey and Israel closer together again, although I find it hard to believe that Erdogan, the anti-Semitic cunt, will ever allow that. That was the word I wanted to use before, by the way. So there, got it out of my system. But anyway, it will definitely help to get Israel and the Arab world closer, because the Arab world is looking for a way to normalize relations with Israel without being seen as if they abandoned their so-called Palestinians. And that kind of solves the situation nicely for everyone. Then we need to fix the problem in the West Bank and we're home free. So while I'm still uneasy about the involvement of Turkey, not just because of Erdogan, by the way, but because I don't trust that our government knows how to deal with him, and I don't think the Americans understand him or his ambitions. But still, when I look at the map of regional interests, I find myself wondering if there's reason to be optimistic that this might actually go in the right direction. I guess we'll wait and see.